Welcome to the Brick and Butter Zone. I'm your host, Case Erickson, here to talk to restaurateurs who reveal their secret recipes for success. You will be encouraged, equipped, and inspired to take your business to the next level. It's like butter, baby. Butter! So buckle up and get in the zone. On today's episode, hear from Eric Silverstein, owner of the Peach Tortilla. Hear how he went from attorney to food truck owner, and then how he made a transition from food truck to restaurant, and then event space after that. Please pardon the audio. This is one of our earlier recordings. So roll with it. It's a great story. It's got great inspiration and motivation, and will give you the fuel to keep on keeping on. Okay, thanks, friend. Listen up. What I want to facilitate is other people on their journeys not thinking that they have to be something specialer than someone else. Just getting people to really focus on their own special, unique identity and what they can bring to the market and how they can focus on that. And it's, you know, the principles of dedication and commitment and all these things. So it's my intention to share stories of people like yourself who have, you know, who are living their dreams, and for other people to say, hey, you know what? I can do it too. I can pull myself up from the bootstraps. You know, Austin's this bootstrap city where it's just like really some hardworking sons of bitches out there. So, you know, I just wanted to give people in my food truck community and the Austin community a chance to hear not just your story, because, you know, a lot of people have heard your story, but what differentiates your story from someone else. So I guess I would lead that into, you know, what do you feel when you wake up in the morning? You know, what do you feel like? What do you think? What do you do? What sets you up in the morning?
Well, I think for me, like, fear is a constant driver. Fear that I'll wake up and, you know, my business won't be as successful today as it was yesterday. Okay. And I know that sounds a little manic and crazy, but fear is a big driver for me. And so when I wake up, you know, my goal is always to see, you know, how we can advance and grow as a company a little further today than yesterday. And, you know, whether that's growing sales or improving our systems or improving our personnel, we always have to move forward because Austin's a competitive market. Yeah,
I definitely feel like that's there for people in terms of feeling overwhelmed with competition. So does that ever come into your space? Like, you feel like you have to do X, Y, or Z against your competition? Do you spend a lot of time looking at your competition, or do you spend, you know, just like focusing on, you know, I'm going to be the best peach tortilla I can be?
I think when we were in the food truck game initially, I was definitely focused in on competition a lot more. Okay. Just because, you know, we were just, there's so many food trucks, and, you know, a lot of them were like, you know, I'd see them daily. Like, for instance, I shared a commissary with Cilantro, so, I mean, I saw those guys every day. So it was like a constant reminder of competition. But I think you can get lost in it if you focus too much on your competition. I think you should be aware of who it is and who they are, and, you know, always try to at least try to outperform them, but you also don't want to focus so much on your competition that you lose track of who you are. And I think that's always a possibility. You know, you focus so much on the competition and see what they're doing, and then you try to emulate that, and then you end up losing your own identity. And I think that's always a possibility.
Right. Yeah, so, you know, if there was one thing, you know, that you would say to get somebody into that space of, you know, just focusing on themselves, focusing on their business, focusing on, you know, being the best that they can be, would there be one thing that
stands out that you've experienced? Because I know you kind of focus on your product and your branding and your image and all that. Or I mean, is there one thing that stands out that you felt like that's your like kind of keeps you grounded?
Can you say that one more time?
Oh, I'm sorry. In terms of focusing on yourself, is there one thing that looks like for you? Like, is it your food? Is it your product? Is your branding? Is your communication? Is it? I mean, what does that mean to you?
I think it's everything. I think it starts and stops with your identity and like what you want your business to be. And that, that does tie to your concepts and your food and your branding, but I think more than anything it ties to your identity and your soul and why did you build this business and what are you trying to put out there,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like if if you're let's say we're Asian inspired food and we start serving Mexican food, well, that's not really our identity. That's not really who we are. So I think sometimes you can play to the market or play to the competition too much, and then you start to lose that,
Yeah. First of all, I just realized that I haven't talked to you since you got married. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Are you tired? Are people like, so how's married life?
Yeah, but it hasn't. It's the same.
Yeah. You're like, yeah. How long were you guys together?
A long time. 7.5 years. Yeah, I mean, we were basically married. I mean, we've been together since I was 24. I'm 32 now.
Okay, got it.
So, it's great. I mean, it's, I wouldn't get married unless I was sure that she was the one, so.
Yeah. Well, you're a smart man. I look at, you guys opened in December and you got married in May. So, how did you pull that off? Everyone, for me in my restaurants, it was like I could barely breathe for the first 2 years. I don't know that I took a vacation in the first 2 years, maybe between years 2 and 3. So how did you pull that off to where you could actually, go out of the country? You went out of the country, right, for your honeymoon?
Yeah, I was gone for about 2 weeks.
How in the world?
It wasn't. It was relatively smooth when I was gone. There were a couple hiccups. I think every business owner and every restaurant owner has an understanding that they're only going to go as far as the people they have underneath them. And the $1 million question is, how good are those people?
Yeah.
And as you probably experienced, those people are hard to find. And, luckily we have some good people, people that are willing to sacrifice and work hard and do what it takes to take this company and this brand to the next level. But it's not easy always finding those people. And, it's a constant struggle. And sometimes it feels like a revolving door. And, we invested a lot of money in training. When we opened, I invested about $5,000 in training our staff. I flew our partners out from Seattle, 3 people, front of the house, back of the house, training me on how to run a restaurant. And, it's probably the best investment I've ever made. You can't just open your restaurant up, especially if you don't have any restaurant experience. And I was willing to take a back seat in that department to other people in terms of allowing them to train our staff. And I was willing to admit that, hey guys, like, I may understand how to run a business, but I don't know how to run a restaurant,
Mm-hmm.
And I think once I was willing to admit that, I was always willing to admit that, but once I was willing to spend the money to train our staff, I think that was a smart decision. And so that ended up allowing us to have staff that was ready to open, and so that gave me a comfort level to leave for a little bit.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think, putting your money where your mouth is. With it. Well, two things, you admitting that, hey, this is not what I'm good at, and how do I bring in the resources, whatever those resources look like, to supplement the things that you're not, innately, you might not have experience in or training in or whatever. And I think that's, particularly for a lot of people who open on a quote-unquote shoestring, they look at their equipment capital and, okay, we need a stove and we need a grill and whatever we need to produce our product, but what do we need? What is the whole product, in the staff,
No, you're totally right. You're totally right. It's like, and that's the struggle, because restaurants are expensive, and you innately go over budget, and a $400,000 project turns into a $600,000 project, and you're trying to cut corners and you're trying to keep everything within budget. But the easiest thing to cut is like marketing and training your staff.
Yeah.
Right. You don't want to spend thousands of dollars on payroll before you even open. You don't want to spend thousands of dollars on PR before you even open. Those are the easiest ones to cut versus hey, I'm going to cut my refrigerator.
Right.
But in reality, those are really important things. You probably won't make it as a restaurant if you don't have good PR, if you don't have good buzz, if you don't
have good people.
Have good people that are trained.
Yeah.
You're just going to have a shit show restaurant. So sometimes being a good business owner is just biting the bullet and understanding what you need to spend to make money, and understanding that I've got to invest now and hopefully the payoff is down the road.
Yeah. Do you have the belief that your staff is this reflection of you? Like your staff is only as good as you are?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I think as an owner, if you lead by example, a lot of people will follow, but not everybody. I've learned that old habits die hard in this business, and you're gonna have people that work for you that have habits that they can't break, and even if you try to lead by example, they won't be broken. And then you're in a position where you have to decide whether they fit within the company's culture or not. And so would that person be a reflection of me? I would say no. But other people that take on my persona and are willing to work a lot and sacrifice for the business, I would say they are a great reflection of me. So wouldn't say everybody. The good thing about Peach, though, and the restaurant, is that the food is a reflection of me. Because I created all the recipes and I cook from what I grew up eating, and I cook from my mom's recipes, and so it's like, hey, when you come and eat, the dining experience and the food is a reflection of me. It's where I'd want to go and eat.
Right.
So in that sense, it is too.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think that's just kind of it all ties into what you were talking about in staying focused to who you are and your passion and your alignment. It's clear to the customer that you are, we're getting to spend, whether or not we see you, we're getting to spend time with something that matters, you feel that passion, you feel part of something. And, that's just really special, I think, to the diners and to consumers, and that's what builds a strong brand. So
totally.
Did you have, and I know we got to go here, but did you have, everyone wants to know, they know your story, kind of how you started in 2010, you were born in Tokyo, and then you did a lot of Georgian roots, and then transitioning out of the legal field, and kind of all the blood and sweat and tears that you had to go through to stay on course and build your business, and the marketing and all that jazz. I didn't find a lot of information around how did you actually get the money to open. Was it through partners, investors, crowdfunding? Was it your own capital? What was kind of the secret sauce there?
For me, it was, I was trying to. So in 2009, I wrote a business plan, and I was trying to raise money for a fast casual restaurant, like Tortilla, but it was going to be like Asian-inspired tacos, kind of like what we do up the truck, but in a fast casual restaurant setting. And I found out quickly that, I was trying to raise money like $18,000 per unit, and I found out quickly that nobody was going to give me that money. I mean, absolutely nobody. And so I realized that I was trying to raise, I think, like $400,000, and, I realized it wasn't going to happen, and instead of giving up, I decided to switch the idea to opening a food truck. And then trying to parlay that into a restaurant. And so, instead of trying to raise $400,000, all of a sudden I was going to try to raise $69,000 or $70,000 bucks. And I was willing to put in. I put in the lion's share of the money. I put in about a third of it, and then I asked everybody else to put in $4,000, and I had 10 people invest, just friends and stuff like that. And I what I basically said to them was, "Hey guys, put in $4,000. It's not much for you guys. Almost all of them are lawyers and doctors or financial advisors, and they're all making, at least $100,000 a year."
Are any of them single, Eric? Are any of them
single? None of the guys are single. But
I couldn't let that one go. Anyway, continue.
So what was I going to say? So I basically was like, hey, I want you to commit to investing more in this business if we're successful down the road. And so that was kind of the deal. I was like, okay, like, $4,000, like, to be honest, these people didn't give a shit if they lost $4,000 or not.
Right.
And so that's kind of how it started. We raised the money. We had an operating agreement. It was formal,
Yeah.
And, we had like a 50-page operating agreement. And that's kind of how it started. Now, what I didn't realize was how hard it was going to be to make money in a food truck.
Yeah.
And so the leap from food truck to restaurant is insanely difficult.
Yeah.
It is so hard, and I can't express that enough. I mean, it's just so difficult to make that leap because to build a restaurant costs so much money.
Yeah.
And if you're lucky as a food truck, assuming you're just trying to sell on the street, man, you might be skimping, making $50,000, $60,000 a year profit, if you're lucky.
Yeah. Right.
And what's that gonna buy you for a restaurant? That's not even gonna buy you your equipment.
No.
So, the model is broken with food trucks and trailers. It'll always entice people. People will always want to do them, but that's why 98% of them will fail because it's so fucking hard. And I say that because I almost failed and I almost gave up like 3 times. Yeah, and I wanted it bad, and I was willing to put everything in my life on the hold. I gave up any kind of social life. I didn't get I didn't get married for fucking 8 years. I was willing to work 7 days a week, but even I was like pretty much at my wit's end. And I did put the business up for sale for a little bit. 2 years in because I didn't want to do it anymore. I was so burned out and so depressed. Like I hit a point of depression 2 years in because Man, Brian, I didn't pay myself for 2 fucking years, 3 years.
Wow.
You know, I dug 50 grand deep into my savings account, and I was working like a dog. You know, and it's like, at what point are you a hard worker or just stupid? You know?
Right.
And I think that's a fine line, and I think that's a question that every entrepreneur needs to ask themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, are you being smart or are you being fucking stupid?
Yeah.
You know, because the barista at Starbucks is making more money than you per hour.
Mm-hmm.
And so, luckily, man, I really do believe this, that as an entrepreneur, you don't make it until you hit that lowest of the low point. Like, you have to push yourself to that lowest of the low point, and then I think it starts to get better. Very rarely do you come out of the gates shit hot. But man, the food truck business, it's the tough, man. I really believe it's the toughest thing you could do. I really believe that, and this is coming from somebody who did it for a long time, and I still do it.
Yeah. What was your third? You said you almost gave up 3 times. I mean, do you remember that experience, or what? You know, what shifted, or what that was like?
Oh, you mean why I didn't give up? Or?
Yeah.
Well, I had a partner, I want to say, 3 years. Well, what year was that? I think it was like summer of 2013, and I had a pretty active operational partner, and he was like, you know what, like, I'm leaving. I'm going to California. You're never going to make this business work. You should just quit. And you know, it was like, I remember going home and thinking for a long time, taking a week to think about it, and I was like, you know what, man, like, fuck you. Like that's just, like, you know, like, no.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? Like, in many respects, I felt like he was holding me back, you know, because of his attitude and always thinking it was just too hard and never going to work. And so part of it was an attitude adjustment for me. It was like, you know what, like, quit fucking moping, quit fucking saying this isn't going to work, and start having an attitude where, like, you come into work every day and you're like, this is going to work, and I'm going to figure out a way to make it work.
Yeah.
You know? And I think if you have the attitude that you're not sure if it's going to work and you're depressed, and, you know, you kind of always have one foot in the water and one foot out. And that's the worst place to be as a business owner. If you're unsure about where you want to go, and if you're not committed to the project. If you're not committed to the project, you're not willing to take the risk you need. And so at that point, I said, fuck it. And I went out and bought a second truck for $80,000. Got that built. 4 months later, I signed a lease on the restaurant. I hired 2 key people at $50,000 a year salaries.
Yeah.
I committed to ACL and all these other events. And basically it was like, you know, we're going to go for it. And I'm either going to make it or I'm going to crash and burn. And I was like, you know what, I'd rather find out now than, like, you know, sitting in this, like, no man's land for the next 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So I was like, you know what, I'd rather just find out what we're made of, and if we crash and burn, then we crash and burn, and I'll move on to something else. I'd rather just know.
Yeah.
So,
that's awesome. I think that's really key and pivotal, and I really appreciate it. Just for myself, you know, we're all in this boat, and to know that there's no unique, you know, oh, this was all rosy and great, you know, like at the end of the day, like it does take that mindset shift, you know.
It does. I mean, it being an entrepreneur is, you have to work hard, you have to be dedicated to all that, but a lot of it is mental. A lot of it is, you have to push through so many barriers. I mean, anybody can show up to work and clock a 9 to 5. Anybody can fucking do that. Any monkey can do that. There's no pressure. You know, you're just you don't have any risk. You know, you don't have any risk. All you have to do is perform relatively well at your job. You get benefits. You take a paycheck. It's a totally different game as an owner.
Yeah.
And there's so much more put on you, and that's a lot of pressure that most people can't handle.
Yeah, but I think that, you know, at the end of the day, all it takes is that choice. You know, like, it's just a choice. You know, fuck it, right? Like, fuck the naysayers. You know, you're gonna do it. You're doing it, and it's done. And whatever needed to occur to get you to that choice, got you to that choice. You know, you could have just as easily been like, you know what, I gave it a nice shot. You know, I'm running out of money and da-da-da-da-da.
Totally.
And I'm going to go be a cog in the machine and have a pretty nice life. You know, because it is pretty nice. There's nothing wrong with the 9 to 5. You know?
No, I mean, you know, sometimes I envy that life. You know, sometimes I envy being able to come home at 6 o'clock and do nothing and have my weekends and have a stable paycheck and not have to worry that my business is going to come crashing the fuck down. But I don't know, man. You only live once, and that doesn't seem all that exciting.
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. Well, I think that you've definitely fulfilled the mission here with encouraging, equipping, and inspiring me, and I know you'll help a lot of my guys on the front lines. You know, like,
totally.
It's tough, and you know, I encourage them all. Hey, you know, just push through, plow through. At the end of the day, it's your choice. You will, you know, whatever you believe, you will achieve, and you know, just push through. You know, there's really, it's not a secret. It's not easy, but it's relatively simple. You know what I mean?
I'm telling you, man, so much of it is mental, and I still have mental blocks.
Yeah.
You know, my mental blocks now aren't opening a restaurant, it's opening 2 or 3 restaurants. You know? It's like, should I go through this again? And so it's just, I feel like it's always challenging. But, you know,
yeah, just follow your model there. And I mean, and I know I'm working with another restaurant here in town who's similar space to you, and looking at, should we do 2? How do we do 2? How do we do, you know, how do we expand? You know, and I had 3, and I think my first location was super successful. The second location was moderately successful, and the third location was like, what the hell just happened here? Like, whose wrists need to be slit right now? And what I learned was, you know, and the first one ended up holding up all 3. You know,
really?
And so I went from a profitable space to, you know, just barely breaking even, and then almost toward the end losing a little money. We sold all 3 before we moved here to Austin, and but yeah, the first one was really, really strong. And what I learned was a couple things: not to bow to my partners, and not to succumb to the pressure. So, you know, I think that you already learned that lesson a little bit, you know, in your previous experience, where people are like, oh, you know, you just kind of need to get out or whatever. You know, just staying focused on what's feels like it's your life. You know, you're the one who's running it. You're the one who manages it, and you're the one who determines what feels right or what doesn't.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think I expanded a little too quickly from going to the first to the second. And then from the second to the third, it was like the landlord was giving everything away to me. Everything. I was like, dude, we just opened a second store. I don't even have $16,000 for a security deposit right now. And they were like, oh, here's $16,000. You can put it off, no problem. We just want you in the center, because, you know, you're a draw to the center. And I said, I don't have. They give me like $200,000. I mean, I think I opened a 4,000 square foot restaurant for around $70,000.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's unheard of.
Full bar, I mean, it was in a great center with a Target and a Lowe's and all this other stuff. So I was like, oh, I'd be stupid not to. I'd be stupid not to. I'd be stupid not to. Well, I was kind of stupid too, just because the opportunity was there, because I did not invest into human capital. It was a new market. It was a new area. It's about 30 minutes away from my first store. And the employee pool was completely different. And so, not having a budget for that human capital is what I learned. I learned the impact of, okay, we're going to get that stove and refrigerator, and I can be the manager. I can be the GM and the assistant manager and the regional manager and the district manager and the training manager and the opening manager. I can do all that.
What were you? How big was your first store?
What's that?
How big was your first store?
It was about 2,000 square feet.
Which is a good size.
Perfect.
What were you doing per year, if you don't mind me asking?
We did about 1.3. And we didn't
lunch
have a full bar. Yeah, lunch and dinner.
7 days a week.
Mhm. Yeah.
So 1.3 is solid, right?
Yeah, we were pulling about close to 200 cash out of it per year. So that was decent. And, so it paid, this is Northern Virginia, D.C., so the cost of living was more than here in Austin. But it was definitely a workable model so that we could get our feet into a second spot really easily. So we opened a second spot that was actually 3,000 square feet and a full bar.
And what was that doing?
And that one was only doing maybe 850 to 900. And I thought for sure, that we're doing a full bar now. So, we were just doing beer and wine. So the full bar, we'll definitely make more than 1.3. And I went into a more competitive market.
Yeah.
And the bigger location wasn't necessarily, and I converted a Mexican restaurant into, and my concept was wings. It was kind of like a Mighty Fine Meats Pluckers, family style. And so, I went into a market where there was more competition and converted a Mexican store. And so it was just like, my first location, I converted an ice cream store into my concept. So the third store, it was like they were offering me all this money, and it was a blank slate. It was a shell. So
yeah.
I could do whatever I wanted, build it out. I could take the best of both locations, marry them into this physical, mecca or whatever. And that one was actually 4,000 square feet.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this is the one. This is gold, gold, gold. And that one, God, I don't even know. We were open probably 6 to 7 months after we sold, so I didn't even have it for a whole year before we sold, because we sold all 3. That one was on track, maybe, to do 600 or 700. So it was half the volume and twice the size of my first store. So what I learned was, there's no magic, I'll be happy if I have 28 stores or 30 stores. I was like, no, I was, other than being a closet case and an alcoholic,
right.
my job was good. The business was good. My life was a mess. So, all things worked out for the best. But, business-wise, I was down to maybe 20, 25 hours a week. I had a team of managers, and this was after close to, between 2.5, 3 years, close to, pulling 180 to 200 out of it. And I had the pressures and stuff like that, but, it was good. There was no it'll be better if we have 2, 3, 4. For me, it was just, what I learned was sometimes it's good just to chill it and just do what's right for me and not succumb to partner.
Right.
It's not the partner.
Your rate. Expand at whatever rate you want to expand at, whatever's comfortable.
Yeah, whatever. There's no secret formula. Leslie over at Bolden Creek, we're talking about doing a second spot. She's been open for 10, 11 years now, and she started at a little 1,000 square foot hole in the wall. So it's just, get up, do your thing, and when opportunities present itself, it's not always because we have to say yes to them.
Did you get a good sales price when you sold it?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think we because the third store was so new, they were taking on a lot of the risk.
Yeah.
And really, the second store was just breaking even, making a little bit.
What was it called?
It was called Main Street Wings and Grill. So it was, we put in, I think,
I guess a couple closed, huh?
Yeah, they all closed actually.
They all closed. Holy shit. Okay.
They all closed. Yeah, so the people bought them, and that's the other thing with, this zone of genius that I like to talk about, and this zone, like how are we in the zone, and how are we focused on what we're really good at, and what you talked about with outsourcing your stuff you weren't good at, just really focusing on what you were good at. When I was good at being out with the public and talking to people and building those relationships. I was not in the kitchen. I'm not a chef. That was my ex's thing. She was really amazing with the food and just could whip up some amazing things.
Yeah.
So she was over the product. I was in my zone. When I was in my zone, my business grew by like 23% per year for the first 3 years because I was focused on that zone. And then when I got out of it, it was like, where's Brian? The management's gone downhill. Oh, da-da-da-da-da. And so it was kind of bittersweet that they closed. And, when I went up to Virginia, seeing, none of them are even there. It's just like, it's pretty much like my whole, like, alternate parallel universe up there.
Yeah.
But to know, like, that was why it was successful. Even if the third one was losing money, it was still staying afloat. And I still had built a successful brand. Being able to open my first restaurant when I was 29 and have 3 restaurants within 4 years was really great. That in and of itself is successful. And, knowing that, when we focus on what we're good at and outsource the rest, I think, so we put in about $200,000 for the first store at, 2,000 square feet. And of course, that was a bootstrap opening. We really invested another $50,000 along the way, like upgraded the water heater, upgraded the AC, upgraded the equipment. That just basically got us open. So I considered a $250,000 investment. And then we spent another $70,000, I want to say, to open the second store. And then another $70,000 to open a third store. So really we opened 3 stores for $250,000, $350,000, under $400,000. Which is really, really great. So, and then we sold all 3 for around $700,000. So, considering that one of them was kind of flat, one of them was a big risk, and then the other one was breaking even. I consider that a decent sale, and cash too. That was really fortunate that we could be like, see ya. So, all things work out. Now I get to be in awesome Austin. And, creating this festival thing that's going on and with the food trucks, but then also, like I've talked to you on occasions about, I really, 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 really I want them all, to be in that space of, fuck it, I'm doing this shit. Like, why? Because I said so. That's why, like, and that's the only reason. And I really want them all, and I get that not everybody, like you said with your employees, not everybody's going to buy into that culture, that mindset, that entrepreneur culture, that mindset. It's a mindset culture thing that either you have it or you don't. And it's my intention to get everybody into, hey, it doesn't take anything special to adopt it. It is a choice. And that's it. And if you're not willing to make the choice, get out. Because I want everybody in, and I do believe everybody can get in. I want everybody who's in to be all in.
You got to be all in. Absolutely.
Just to make it fucking awesome, because you said so. So anyway. I think what you've got going on is awesome, and it's just really, it's been fun to see you and to see you just getting involved in things you're involved in, and then opening. I was just so happy to see you open. I know what that journey is like. I know the blood, sweat, and tears, and I'm sure you'll continue to just do amazing, awesome things and be a contribution to the Austin community and the truck community and the foodpreneur community. And I'm so grateful to be in your space, sharing some space, playing the game with you.
I appreciate that, man. I do. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. It's in the zone. We stay in the zone, brother.
All right. Well,
All right.
let me know if you need anything else from me. Yeah, this sounds like a cool thing you're doing.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm excited for it. So, all right, brother, you too. Reach out anytime, and I will see you on the dark side.
All right, man. Hey, have a great weekend.
Yeah, you too, Eric.
Thanks, Brian.
Bye.
Take care.
Thank you for listening in to this week's episode of the Brick and Butter Zone. If you haven't already, go on over to brickandbutter.com, download your free mindset reset affirmations, and most importantly, feed your face, spread the love, and stay in the zone.